welcome in. This is the Nosebleeds with Keenan Warner on the last word on NFL. So this show, the Nosebleeds, is going to basically be breaking down the NFL week to week. It's going to be breaking down, going to be giving out some bets on Sundays, going to be previewing games, reviewing games, also going to be giving our own takes, our own segments here. Going to be deep diving into what is known as America's favorite sport, the National Football League. Football, it's beautiful. And we're right in the swing of things. I know it's later on. We just got done Thanksgiving. But we felt right now was a good time to start. Stretch run of the NFL. Great content coming here. And without further ado, we're going to move on into the first game that we're talking about today, which is going to be Thursday night's first game, Green Bay versus Detroit. This week 12 of the NFL had a lot of big time games that had a lot of implications this week. And this was one of the ones that I wasn't thinking I was even coming and talking about. The Lions were just going to do what they needed to do, get the job done on Thanksgiving. I personally thought on my podcast I did with my brother, Warner Brothers podcast, we talked about this, and I thought that this was just going to be pretty close game, 28-24 Lions, or 26-20 Lions. I thought they were going to get it done, but they couldn't. Packers came to play. Jordan Love has really stepped up over these last 2 weeks, been putting up 26 points a game, 5 touchdowns, no picks, about a 117 rating. Giving the Packers an outside chance of the playoffs. I don't think they're going to get in. They have the Seahawks at 6-5, the Vikings, who are right now 6-5. They got a game tonight, but it's going to be very interesting to see how the Packers can move forward, but they're getting good signs out of Jordan Love. I know people wanted to close the book on him early because if you don't look like C.J. Stroud does, you don't look like how Justin Herbert looked, Andrew Luck looked in their first couple games in this kind of league we have today, you wanted to just throw him away, but it takes time. It used to be 3 years to get the quarterback into the new system, get used to the playbook, get used to the NFL speed. It's completely different than college football. The windows are tighter. And we're giving Jordan Love time now. He's missed Aaron Jones for a lot of the season. Christian Watson is number one receiver who had a pretty big game. He was missing a lot of time this season as well. They've got some young pieces on this offense, and this offense is going to get going a little bit more. Matt LaFleur is a great offensive coach. So I think you could see a lot from the Packers moving forward that could be good, that could actually lead to some wins. Jordan Love, I don't know if he's a franchise saver kind of guy yet, but I don't think he's a guy you throw the book on. I'd be fine with him going into next year with him. He started the season off 6 touchdowns, 0 picks, but it was just a fact of the matter that he wasn't completing a lot of balls. He's got higher completion percentage now. But we move on to the more important team of the matter for this season, which is the Detroit Lions, and they suffered a tough loss. A very, very tough loss. They had an outside chance of that 1 seed. Only 2 losses. They dipped down now to 3 losses. They should have the division. Obviously, they have 2 games against the Vikings. If they were to lose both of those, maybe they'd be in a fight for it. But they should have the division. But now instead of every game going through Detroit, looks like you're probably going to have to head to Philly. And we know playing in Philly in the Link, that's tough. That is a tough place to go and get a W. So the Lions really missed an opportunity here to me. They're still a good team. Jared Goff's got to take care of the ball like he had been for the entire season and last season up to the last couple of games. He's got to get back to taking care of the ball. Their run game's still fine. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs has been running the ball great. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta. This offensive line has been playing good football all season long. You've got to do that because then you've got to get your defense in favorable position because your defense is solid. They're good against the run. You have Aiden Hutchinson, who is a stud, but your pass defense has much to be desired. You need to get pressure, and to get pressure, you need to get into 3rd and longs. Getting the 3rd and longs is when people feel rushed, when you're controlling the game and they feel like they're not going to have many possessions, so they got to play outside of themselves. The Packers look comfortable, and when you can get comfortable and be comfortable in the pocket, that defense can be had, absolutely. So That's something that the Lions are going to have to shore up moving forward if they're going to want to compete with the Cowboys, compete with the Eagles, and compete with the 49ers. So, and even like if they want to compete with the Vikings are going to get Justin Jefferson back here in 2 weeks. That offense, Josh Dobbs has it formidable. So the Lions definitely got some things to touch up, tune up, but they're in fine shape. They will definitely make the playoffs. They'll be a tough out. Just if they want to get to that divisional round NFC Championship game, they're definitely going to have to get the little things tuned up, and they have a good big game against the Cowboys towards the end of the season to kind of test a little barometer for them. Next, we're going to move on. Speaking of Dallas, I want to quickly touch on Dallas just because they had a big win. Obviously, Thanksgiving, they are the best team in the league when it comes to playing mediocre to lesser talent. They're going to beat them up. They're always going to beat them up. Fantasy-wise, take them. Spread-wise, take them. They're going to beat them up. That's just what they do. When they smell blood, they're front-running, and I mean that in a good way. They're better than anybody else in the league, including the 49ers, including the Chiefs, including the Bills, including whomever you want to put there. They're the best team when it comes to front-running. Dak, he's in that MVP race, man, and I know we don't want to put him there because of the game against the 49ers, that 1 touchdown, 3 picks. But he's 23 touchdowns, 6 picks, 107 rating. He's really only had one bad game, and that was the 49ers game. And it was terrible. And it's nationally televised. It's Sunday. It's tough to – that's a tough look. You've got to do a lot to get out of that. An Eagles win, they would have beat the Eagles. That would have been something. But – they have the Seahawks on Thursday night again, so you got another primetime game after having a primetime game. And then you got the Eagles on Sunday night. If you can beat the Eagles on Sunday night, Dak, you can be leading the MVP race in my mind. A little thing, it'll be the closest you've been to an MVP since your rookie season when you guys really went 13-2. But you guys lost last week because you guys sat. But really went 13-2. You and Zeke took the league by storm, lost to the Packers in the playoffs, and with Aaron Rodgers at the peak of his powers. But the Dallas Cowboys, man, they're tough. Bland, he's got to be in defensive. He's got to be in defensive player of the year talks. 5 touchdowns, 5 pick sixes, most ever in 11 games. Didn't start every single one of them either because they obviously had Diggs who got injured early. Blessing in disguise, Diggs getting injured, because you don't see how great Bland is. We knew he was a ball hawk, but you don't see how great he's been in coverage without Diggs going down. So next year when Gilmore, you can kind of slide him to the slot, and you have 2 guys outside who can really get it done. So blessing in disguise with Bland there, or with Diggs going down to show what Bland's doing. But obviously you'd still like to have Diggs. But this Cowboys team, it's nice. The Cowboys team's nice. We'll see if they can get it done in the playoffs. They don't want to see the 49ers, which is the next team we're going to be talking about, that last slot in the Thursday game. Man, this 49ers team, when they're rolling, they're the best team in the league. CMC, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, who didn't even have a big game. Obviously, Deebo Samuel, who had a big game. Trent Williams on the line, just bowling people over. That offensive line is great. Kyle Shanahan orchestrating everything, one of the best, if not probably the best. Him and Reed, the 2 best conductors in the league. And then obviously you've got Brock Purdy. A comfortable Brock Purdy is a top 10 quarterback in the league. That's obviously he has the weapons for it, but within the system that he plays, makes every throw you need him to make, reads the plays perfectly, doesn't try to do too much, always just does exactly what he needs to do. And when you have a mind like Kyle Shanahan, it works. And I understand that's a product of a system. A lot of quarterbacks in this league are a product of a system. Just about every quarterback in the league is a product of a system. You don't have too many people who are the system. Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, those kind of Josh Allen, those kind of quarterbacks are the system. A lot of these people, and even Josh Allen, out in a system we saw with Daboll, he doesn't turn the ball over as much. He plays better, plays more conservative football, which gets him to higher heights because you couple that with his great talent, who we'll talk about him later too. Once you get all that together, you really see the greatness of Josh Allen. But we'll see. This game's gonna be close. This Sunday, you get in the 4:25 slot. We have Packers Chiefs in the 8:20 slot. Slip them. Could have Sunday Night Football of 49ers Eagles. I don't know why we have that in the 4:25 slot, but that's why we have flex spots in the NFL. But that's just me. 49ers going to Philly. If Brock can pull out a win here, that means he played pretty mistake-free football. I understand that Philly secondary can be had, and we'll get to that later. They can be had. I understand that. But that team just beat the Bills, a Bills team that outplayed them, and a Josh Allen who's played as well as you're going to see Josh Allen play, really. He only played better in the 2021 playoffs. It's really the only time he's played better than he did yesterday. He played phenomenal. They beat the Chiefs. I understand the Chiefs couldn't get their offense fully figured out yet, and maybe this Chiefs team now has figured it out, but they still beat the Chiefs. They beat the Dolphins recently too. Like they've stacked up some pretty big wins here. So there's nothing you really can do with the Eagles, and you can't say anything but they're the class of the NFC right now. 27 of the last 29 regular season games. I think that would make it 30 of their last 33 games, or 29 of their last 32 games. That's tough, man. That is tough. So this game on Sunday, I know it's only Monday, but I couldn't be more excited for this. This is a NFC Championship game preview, most likely, unless Dallas or Detroit has something to say about it. And the team that I thought could be in that game this year, and I thought that they could actually make it to the Super Bowl, Seattle, it's not looking good. It's not looking great. And why is it not looking great? It's not looking great because offensively, you guys can't get it done. Defensively, you guys are hitting and missing. Like, you play good for stints. You guys are active. Witherspoon's been good. Obviously, Jamal Adams being back, and he's still getting even a little banged up, but him being back is nice. You've got pieces defensively. It's offensively right now. You thought, okay, going into the year, Geno last year, very good season. Got Kenneth Walker. Got Charbonneau backing up Kenneth Walker, nice rookie. Okay, you got Noah Fant, solid tight end. You drafted Jackson Smith and Jigba, who, as we can see, can make plays. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. You're like, okay, Geno, you have everything. And Geno Smith is reverting back to the guy we knew before last season. He was, last year, 100 rating, 2.7 to 1 touchdown to interception ratio, 252 yards, 69.8% completion percentage. That was best in the NFL for quarterbacks who actually played games last year. This year he's 18th. He's only at 65.4. 1.3 to 1 touchdown to interception ratio. 235 yards last year, or this year, compared to the 252 last year. Down all over the board. 88 rating. He's not getting it done. And that's not going to get it done. They can't put up 20 plus points consistently. They've gotten only over 33 times. And that they haven't gotten over 30 since week 3. You're not going to be able to just put up 22 points against the 49ers, as we just saw, against the Eagles, as we're about to see, against Dallas, as we're going to see too. Like, you can't do that against these teams. These teams are too good. They can score the ball too well. You have to go put up points. And their issue right now is quarterback. That's something they've got to address in the offseason, in my opinion. I don't think you can run it back with Geno. Geno's good. Don't get me wrong. I think that he's made himself into a Teddy Bridgewater, Baker Mayfield, that style of quarterback. A quarterback that if you have to run to for a year, or a team like the Browns right now, if the Browns had someone like Geno even backing up at quarterback, you're like, okay, this isn't a lost season. Josh Dobbs, what he's doing now and going to be doing in Minnesota, what he was doing in Arizona, it's not a lost season because he can win you games. He can get you in the right position. While if your quarterback's out for a few weeks, you don't feel like you lost the season. If he's out for a long term, you still feel like you can compete, maybe make a little bit of a playoff run. You see if you have a Nick Foles, Joe Flacco, second time Eli Manning kind of run in, you see if you can get something like that. But the Seahawks, man, are tough. They're in a tough position right now. I think they need something at quarterback. Geno, it's a good story. I think he's cemented himself in the league. I don't think he should be out of the league by any means next year. I just don't think he should be starting for the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to move to Sunday. I know there was a game on Friday. That Black Friday game went exactly as you expected. The Dolphins torched, and they didn't even look like they were torching like I thought they were going to. But, I mean, right before the half, Tua throws a pick. You got a Hail Mary. He throws two picks pretty much, but he throws a pick right before the half. You throw a Hail Mary, you return that, and that's the ball game, 17-6. Tim Boyle, 1 touchdown to 13 picks at UConn. He's not going to go get you points. I promise you that. Absolutely promise you he's not going to go get you points. So we move to Sunday. The game that I actually want to talk about first is not just a one game. It's kind of a culmination of games. I want to talk about the AFC North because that's the most interesting whole division in football. You have the Bengals, who are not mathematically out of it, but they're pretty much out of it because they don't have Joe Burrow. They're still going to play hard. You have to wake up for them. You actually have to go to those games and actually play because they have formidable pieces. Jake Browning actually doesn't look bad. So those are going to be games that you can't just sleepwalk your way through and get W's. But on the other side of the ball, they don't have Matt Canada. Finally, I believe 59 games. Matt Canada couldn't get 400 yards. Game 1, without him, they get 400 yards. Najee looks inspired. They're using Jaylen Warren a little bit more. They're actually trying to extend the ball outside of the numbers to Pickens, but not only just outside the numbers, they're getting the inside. Pat Freiermuth, 9 catches, $120. He's back. That's great for that. He's back too. He was one of the better tight ends last year. They've got pieces offensively. I don't like Pickett in the slightest. I think Kenny Pickett's not good, but he's good enough right now. I think the level of quarterback play, after you get past the top 10, 12, it's not great. So as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, and to his credit, he's been pretty good in the fourth quarter all season long. So this team definitely is going to be a playoff team, in my opinion. I think they're going to sneak in, and they're going to be a tough out for the Ravens, probably the Ravens, Chiefs, Dolphins. They're going to be a tough out. TJ Watt, that defense, they can get stops, and offensively, just keep the game close early and see what you can do late. Put pressure on someone. So very interesting, the Matt Canada situation. It's so interesting that he just couldn't. That's one of the. I've never seen someone so hated by everybody and universally recognized as just being so bad. Like him and Josh McDaniels, 2 guys this year that you just universally recognize as just, man, they're a cancer to this locker room. They're just not good. And then the next week after they're gone, the teams play well. I understand the Steelers didn't put up many points, but at least they got the ball up and down the field. Now it's just execution in the red zone and turning 3 points to 6 points to 7 points. So that game was interesting. You have the Browns, Broncos, them and the Eagles, hottest teams in the league right now. Broncos they turned it around. I've been a guy who never has really been a fan of the Broncos. Last year, I wouldn't bet them to win. They couldn't score over 16 points, even though their defense was playing great. And then Sean Payton gets there, and their defense plays horrendous for the first 4 or 5 weeks. But they turned it around. They got embarrassed by the Dolphins, and since that point, I mean, they have played good football. Russell Wilson has looked inspired. He's looked spry again. A lot of plays where he's actually getting out and running. He had a rushing touchdown this year for the first time this year. They had 2 rushing touchdowns all year. They had 2 rushing touchdowns, I believe, in the first half of football. Samaje Perine running hard, Javonte Williams running. You've got McLaughlin who can change pace. Cortland Sutton's been playing good football all season long. Jerry Jeudy is a nice target. they've got some pieces. They're a pretty solid team. There's a reason why a lot of people before the year had them 8+ wins, fighting for a playoff spot. Some people really felt like they can get in, especially with Sean Payton. This team's going to be a team that you don't want to see late in the season because they just know how to win football games. They're learning. They're getting better. Sean Payton has designed this offense well around Russell Wilson, giving him into his strengths, allowing him to do what he does best, but they're also getting back to the run and not just letting Russ cook. Letting Russ cook to me is putting him in situations, sometimes getting out of his way, like out of his mind, because sometimes I think he can think he's even better than what he is, which is fine. Confidence in a QB, great. No problems asked, no problems with it at all. But when you can find yourself in situations third and manageable where your legs can really be used, where you don't have to do too much, you're not trying to make all these incredible acrobatic plays like you did second half of the NFC Championship game 2014. You don't need to do that anymore. That's not you. That's not who you are. You're a veteran quarterback who needs to go in there, not turn the ball over, and you've been doing a great job of that. So the Broncos are going to be a team fighting for a playoff spot, and they might be able to sneak in. This win over the Browns is going to be huge, especially in seeding. And then, obviously, the nightcap, you had Ravens-Chargers. So Ravens' defense is special, man. They're special. 15.6 points a game. That's second in the league, only behind the 49ers at 15.5. 273.9 yards per game. That's only behind the Browns. Browns have had a historic defense, as we've all recognized. The offense was lax yesterday, but you've got Lamar. He's electric. Odell has a shoulder injury that he's kind of fighting through right now. He played a lot in the first half. 3 catches, 34 yards, I want to say. Second half, he didn't play too much. Zay Flowers showed some speed. Keaton Mitchell, that's a find. I like that they're using him a lot because he gives such a change of pace. You see him, then you see Justice Hill, good receiving back, understand, just a crafty back, and then you got Gus Edwards to kind of punch people home. So they've got a real nice trifecta there that they use in good spurts, that they're using at right times. And then obviously you have Lamar Action Jackson doing his thing. He looks so comfortable in the pocket. Like, he looks like he's 95-ish% matured as a thrower. He's got a little bit things to work on, but he's outside the numbers is not really a huge concern anymore. Making throws from the pocket's not really a huge concern anymore. His has been late game decision making. He's had a few games late where he's tried to do something and just wasn't always the right decision. He tries to go for the throat, tries to go for it, and just doesn't get it done. So I'm so glad. I hope that he can stay healthy. Really, with this Ravens team, health has been an issue for the last half decade for them. They always seem to have injuries defensively, offensively, whatever it is. If they're a fully healthy Ravens team is Super Bowl bound, obviously they can get stopped by somebody, maybe the Chiefs, but this team is definitely scary, and they're honestly, to me right now, I think they're the favorites coming in the AFC. One of the teams, though, that is also 8-3 with the Ravens, or their Ravens are now 9-3, and one of the 8-3 teams played one of the better games of the year. Fun. CJ Stroud versus none other than Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence had himself a great game. I believe 368 yards, 1 rushing touchdown, one passing touchdown. He looks just poised. Like, a lot of him, he doesn't get rattled. I know there's up and down varying opinions on him. Some people feel like, oh man, he is just so special. He's so talented, because coming out, that's what he was touted as. He was touted as the next Andrew Luck, the next Peyton Manning, next John Elway. That's what it was coming out. And then other people, there's still a little bit to be desired there, because he hasn't had a lot of those big moments. Obviously, we remember the second half against the Chargers in the playoffs, but we also remember the first half, which got him to have that second half, but great resilience on his part. But sometimes there's a little bit of that wow factor that you miss from him, but he just plays very, very complimentary football. He's okay. He doesn't have to have the big stats. Okay, ETN's here, I'm going to take that. He takes what the defense gives him and does a good job at that. Fumbles has been a problem for him, holding onto the ball, turning the ball over via the air. Hasn't been too much of an issue for him. We obviously saw against the 49ers that it was. But overall, he's been taking pretty decent care of the ball. He just needs to hold on to the ball a little bit better in the pocket. But he had a great game. And then on the other side, what we kind of wish sometimes we see from Trevor, we just feel it and we see it with Stroud. Stroud's is 350 total yards, I think 47 on the ground, 304 in the air. 2 touchdowns in the air, 1 on the ground. He's electric. He is special. Tank Dell is special. Like that was a find. This is a great rookie to rookie combination. This feels like the best rookie duo since Dak and Zeke. Obviously, Zeke's a running back, not a wide receiver. But like when they came in the league, it was like, oh man, a rookie backfield. They're going at it and they're doing great things. This just feels the same way with Stroud and Tank Dell. Fun game. Obviously, the missed 58-yarder that was this close. If it was from 57, we go to OT and we see what happens. Or maybe Trevor Lawrence gets him down. But we'll see. We would have seen what happens. But the Texans 6-5, they're fighting. And they're a team that I hope, for my sake, I hope they make the playoffs. They're fun. Seeing CJ in big moments, I'd love to see it. They're just a fun team. Nico Collins, D'Amico Ryans coached them up well. They got talent defensively. I love the Will Anderson showing out more and more each game. But the Jags got a much-needed win because that division, with a loss, gets hairy for them. Instead of being 8-3 and the Texans are 6-5 rather, the Texans are 7-4 and they're 7-4. And the Texans beat you twice. So big win, especially on the road for the Jags. Jags are actually 5-0 on the road this year. Playing at home's the problem, and they were going to have to see a couple road games, so maybe that might be better for them. Good game though. I very much enjoyed this game. It was a lot of fun. Second to last game I want to talk about here real quick. Chiefs-Raiders. I think Chiefs-Raiders was a needed game. Obviously, Raiders got up 14-0. Looked like, are the Chiefs really in trouble? And then right after that, Josh Jacobs' big runs, the Chiefs come down and they do what they do and they score a touchdown and they don't look back from there. They looked comfortable. They looked confident. They looked like they finally had found something. Rashee Rice needs to be featured more. He needs to get more like 9 or 10 targets a game rather than like 5 to 6. Travis Kelce doesn't have it anymore. For big games, he reminds me a little bit of what Gronk was that last playoff run for the Patriots. And even with the Bucs a little bit too, but more so that last playoff run with the Patriots. Still the best tight end in the league, in my opinion. If you wanted to argue Travis Kelce at that time, I could listen to it. But still one of the best tight ends in the league, just for the sake of argument. And made big plays late. We saw, obviously, against the Rams, Patriots can score all game. Brady goes deep to who? Makes the play. Gronk just always doing what the team needs to succeed and to win. Can't summon up the $120 every week, but when it's needed and the big catches are needed, the big plays are needed, he's there, and that's what Travis Kelce is right now. He's still the best tight end in the game. He's still a guy who is playing great football. It's just he's lacking a little bit of a step getting away. He can get open. It's more so the run after the catch that you're seeing kind of taking a step back, which makes him go from elite to all-time elite. So I think he's just back to being just an elite, really good, best tight end in the league instead of being like next level, top 5 all-time tight end right now. So you need somebody else, and Rashee Rice, I think, could be that. Jerick McKinnon in the playoffs, they've been using him in the past. He could be another guy who could come in. Pacheco's running with his hair on fire, as he always does. Hopefully they found something out for his sake and for Mahomes' sake. Mahomes looked good in the second half. We'll see. Chiefs looked interesting, and that was an interesting game. Good for the Raiders to play them tough, but I think this might be the game that we see the Chiefs really start to turn it around offensively. They finally scored in the second half for the first time in 3 games as well. And then last but not least at all, the game that I think meant so much to the league. And it's Bills versus Eagles. Josh Allen played himself a phenomenal game. An absolutely phenomenal game did he play, yes. Made every play. He threw one bad pass, and that was a pick, and I get it. And I'm not blaming that on him. I understand. Like, you can't blame the loss on him at all. I understand. People do make mistakes. It's okay. It wasn't one of those games where you're like, oh, man, Josh Allen just couldn't get it done. He did everything. He ran well. He threw well. Diggs dropped a couple balls. Like, obviously, the elements weren't great, and you could see the Eagles were a little stymied offensively because of the elements and because how well the Bills' defense was playing. I don't want to just put it on the rain. The Bills had to play in the rain too, and they were making plays. Josh just showed how special he really can be. But Hurts showed how special he is. Playing terrible. Your team needs it. That throw to Zacharias, man. That's elite. That is elite. For people who question if he is like elite of elite, he's elite of elite. Because he's an elite winner. He might not be an elite thrower of the football deep. He might not be elite in the pocket. He is an elite runner, and he's an elite winner. And that's what you need in this league. Like, regardless, they were 9-8, made the playoffs. They lost against the Bucs. And then you have last year, obviously they lose to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Controversial call-ish in the Super Bowl. I didn't think it was PI. They would have been able to get the ball back. We would have seen what he would have done. With how he's playing this year, maybe we see, okay, he balls out and actually goes down, gets him a touchdown. Eagles are champions for the second time in 5 years. Or 6 years, I think it would have been. But this Eagles team just gets it done. Like, they have so much talent everywhere. They feel like a team that has like one or two more runs in them, and they're early on already. They have a lot of old pieces. The offensive line's old. The defensive line's a little older, but they got Jalen Carter. They've got a lot of young pieces that they're going to be filtering in, so it's not they're going to fall off by any means, but this iteration, how dominant this team is, it feels like this is their year to do so. And if they miss it this year, it's going to be interesting moving forward. But we're not going to worry about moving forward right now because this team's 10-1, the best team in the league, and they're playing great, great football, which again is why I'm so, so excited for this Sunday at 4:25, not Sunday night, but 4:25 game, Eagles 49ers at the Link in Philly. This is going to be one of the best games of the year. At least I'm hoping, because when we said that last time, I was like, oh, Dallas and the 49ers is going to be great. Blowout. Oh, Ravens Bengals going to be phenomenal. Burrow injured, Lamar gets hampered, Mark Andrews goes down. And it's like, okay, I'm hoping that going into a game, it lives up to it. Eagles, Cowboys definitely lived up to it, but I'm hoping that this one can even take it a little higher. There's just so much talent on the field, both sides of the ball. We get an NFC Championship game rematch, and hopefully Purdy and Hurts and everybody can stay healthy, because last year it would have been great, but obviously Purdy got hurt. Then the next quarterback got hurt, and they almost had to go down to Christian McCaffrey starting for the rest of the game. So tough, but we'll see how it goes. We'll be previewing that on Thursday, giving out picks and my thoughts going forward on week 13 of the NFL. And on Sunday morning, going to be giving out some bets. Some of the best bets, but I think of the week's best lines, maybe a parlay, maybe a teaser, whatever bets I'm thinking at the time. We're going to be giving out some bets as well. But this was the Nosebleeds with Keenan Warner. Last word on NFL.